We're good. All right, so we are live. All right. This is the first time that we're going live, and it's a lot of fun. I love where we are. We are in Inspira Studios. We are in Inspira Studios, and it's a beautiful dance studio right here. Brilliant owners. And we're here for our brilliant owners, Christine Smith and Leon Smith. Yes. They are brilliant owners. We talked about them in the last segment, and at the end of the show, we're gonna talk about them even more because they're just impressive, and we love having them here. This is the second hour, and we're gonna have some fun because I'm a debate coach. I enjoy debate, and this is what happened was not just for me personally was fun, but I think there are a lot of people who feel a lot of different ways, right? We have the age of Trump, and everyone's like, well, what should we do? And these debates came, and once these debates come, we're gonna have a conversation. So I'm gonna introduce you to our panel guests. We have to our left, Jheryn Kenney. Jheryn Kenney is an incredible businesswoman in the city of Newark. She is dynamic. Our left also, we have Ikhlas Rashid. She is a lawyer, she is a researcher, and she constantly actually does like positive things for years around the city and for a lot of different people, and has very strong opinions, as everyone on this panel does. And we have to my right, my big sister, Annette Alston, who's an accomplished author, who Harriet Tubman signed, did book signings down at the National Black Museum, and she has a forthcoming biography coming out of Larry Ham. No, really, it's an autobiography of Larry Ham that they're working on and finishing up together. So Larry Ham is a local activist, and that should be a lot of fun. I can't wait till that comes out. But yeah, it really is. So all right, so we had this debate, and we saw a lot of stuff happen. Elizabeth Warren. We saw like Michael Bloomberg. So tell me, we'll start with you, Jheryn. What did you think about the debate, and who is supporting this?
I was excited to see the debate. One, the parts of it that I saw, just because I believe everybody needs to have their voices heard. A bit disappointed as the president ended up being, because I'm particularly concerned about the strength of Donald Trump. I don't even want to say the strength of Donald Trump. I'll say the actual possibility of him winning re-election. And so I don't know that this particular debate helped Democrats.
Okay.
So
like it was a nice fight where everyone was starting.
It was a brawl. It was a street fight. That's how I felt. So it was disappointing. It was great to have freedom of speech and hearing everybody's opinions, but it was disappointing because I don't know that we're better off. So it's included as a part. Who am I supporting? Still being determined. I don't know if it's going to be the popular answer.
There's no popular answer on here, right? Like, and the thing is, we all have different opinions, and we can talk about politics in a civil, way, right? Like part of people say, "Oh, never talk about politics over that's a mistake." We need to learn how to talk about politics in ways where we're not throwing food at each other.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, my top three contenders are Joe Biden, former Mayor Bloomberg, and Elizabeth Warren.
Okay. And can you just elaborate a little more in terms of like why, how, like?
Yeah, I think Joe Biden, he's had such long time being up close and personal with the way that the country, the world works. And I think it's easy to toss out pipe dreams and all these ideas that are going to cost, multiple trillions of dollars, or even just have ideas that sound good on paper and in theory, but it's harder. Our mayor, who was just here a few minutes ago, can tell you all this is so much harder in real life. I've realized it now. Like, I used to coach debate, but now, like, in the real world, I'm thinking, like, what in the world? I'm struggling. I'm not struggling with it, but it's a challenge every single day to thrive. And so I just think that it matters. Like, having the know-how matters. I also feel confident that Elizabeth Warren is prepared. Her demeanor is that of someone I feel comfortable with, making decisions that impact the future of our world.
Are you trying to imply that she doesn't scream a lot?
Yeah, she doesn't scream, and it's not necessary to scream, but she is to have done it on the level that he has, to create as many jobs as he has. If there's a fair election, it will count the way it should and count equally. I think Michael Bloomberg has the best chance of beating Trump, and that's what matters to me more than anything.
Because he'll spend half of his fortune and still be a multi-billionaire.
And I'm okay with that. I can appreciate him spending that money because it's his money to do whatever he wants. I'm appreciating that he's willing to spend that money to beat Donald Trump, because he's gonna be just fine regardless. You know?
So how about you, Ikhlas?
Well, I actually agree with a lot of what you said. Like in an ideal world, I support Buttigieg. I think it's time for a new generation to lead this country into the future.
He's the only one who's young on the stage.
Yeah, but realistically, I don't think that America is ready to elect a gay man. So that puts that to the side. And then I think the most important thing, I was telling Jonathan earlier, is that Trump will not be re-elected, hands down. I went to Douglas College, and I think the feminist in me said I should support Warren, but I'm like, I had this feeling that America's not ready to elect the woman either. And what's important is that Trump is not well, first it was, I thought Biden before he got in. And I was like, oh yeah, Biden, that's how we're gonna do it. But then when his performance, I love and respect the elders. I do. But
here it comes.
He wasn't on par. You have to be able to go you have to be able to go toe to toe with Trump. He's ruthless and is willing to do anything to stay in power. And if you slip for a minute, that's it. We can't afford any mess ups.
You're like rabid dog against grandpa.
Yeah, great grandpa sometimes.
Great grandpa.
Yeah, it's scary. But I mean, I love him to death. He's done a lot both ways. But you know, it's not. I'm not comfortable. I want to support the person that has the strongest possibility of beating Trump. And it's not just because Bloomberg has money. I think he's strategic. Even in his use of the $402 million that he spent thus far, it's been implemented. Like, people think that Obama has endorsed great commercials. Like, this man is very smart. He's like, he can take what Donald Trump is doing and I think elevate it to the next level. So I think he can go toe to toe. Like, he's the first person who said, like, you know, Trump made a little comment about Bloomberg's height, and he was like, come on, you have fake hair, you have a fake tan. Like, what are you talking about? That's what we need. That's what we need.
So you go low, we go lower.
Well, we win. That's what it is. We win. And it's just so important. We cannot afford another 4 years of Donald Trump, no matter what.
All right, so I'm gonna ask one more question. Like, it's a crazy question, but why do you feel that Trump is so incredibly bad, especially compared to someone like Bloomberg? Like, why just?
I'm laughing because you're saying. He's bad in terms of his ideology, but it's also because he's not smart. And I think he's also emotionally unhinged, right? So we talked earlier about Bloomberg, and maybe Bloomberg has done some things like this stopping for stuff. I have a black son. It's real, right? But I'm willing to say, like, you know what? I don't think Bloomberg is emotionally unhinged. You can't bet on a crazy person. You don't know what he's going to do. You know, you don't know who's going to get in his ear, like Steve Bannon in the first administration was telling him about, or no, Stephen Miller.
So you're saying that, like, there's Trump crazy, and get rid of the crazy person by any means necessary.
There was an article that made a reference to how to the experience. I think we probably all heard the story of the black mother during slavery who killed her children, ravenous eating solvents and slippers, right? So while
that was the beloved. Toni Morris was inspired by that.
Exactly. But so as a black, yes, absolutely, because I told you, democracy, we built this democracy. We as black people have sacrificed so much And now we're called to do it again. This is not the time to be like, oh, I want a revolution and, I want healthcare for all, but I want Trump out more than anything.
Okay. So, big sister, Annette Alston. Annette, so what do you think about this?
Okay, so Obama,
Change.
we were expecting change. We didn't get a whole lot, okay, of change. We got some changes, but it was not to the level that we were really expecting. Okay, we got Obamacare, but really it should have gone further. We know this, okay? There were improvements to the justice system, but basically those were basically corrections that were made because of the mistakes that Clinton had made. Then, in the next election, and the country, by and large, again, still really wanted change. But I think they kind of still, she's better than the Republicans, okay? She didn't win because the country really wanted a real change, okay? And I think that real change was with Sanders. We're ready to evolve. I want everyone to close their eyes for a moment and imagine this country without Social Security, without Medicare, okay, without any sort of welfare, all right? And I want you to think back to the president that actually put a lot of that in place. He's called a socialist, all right? Now, he rejected that particular title, okay, because of the time period. But realistically, what he was instituting were socialist programs because he recognized it needed to be a net for people. And he probably would have done more, but he started the ball. Somebody talked about Lyndon Baines Johnson. Lyndon, a lot of people don't know, he had a plan too to move things more in the program, socialist type programs, not socialism. They didn't aggressive situation. However, the civil rights movement, so again, we as a country were stagnated. I think that Bernie Sanders is. There's still people making choices between whether they're going to eat or take their insulin, and these are decisions that should not have to be made. There are people that are losing their homes still or not able to afford to keep them because even though they're working, okay, they're not making enough money to keep up with the cost of living. So, I mean, we have some real problems in the society that even if Bloomberg gets in there, we're still going to have those because you know who we look out for first.
We're in triage, right? We're in the hospital. The patient is bleeding out. We have to decide how we want to save the patient's life. Like that's how I look at it, right? And I think, I agree with most of the policies, probably the majority of Bernie Sanders' policies. But we need to save the patient's life first. We need to get Trump out first before we can even talk about the evolution. All Democrats vote for the nominee, and we just need to vote for the person that's going to beat Trump.
In terms of the Sanders, Bloomberg, and the structural change that was suggested.
I agree with both of you. I don't disagree with the approach and the need for what Bernie Sanders proposes. My father turned 65 today, and we were having a conversation about, it's exciting. He's worked for 43 years and talking about his retirement and planning for it. And I'm grateful that he will have Medicare and Social Security as well as stone investments. But I know that's not necessarily depending on where we go from here. But I agree most with you in that we've got to, before we can get to that point, like in that ideal place that we know we ultimately need to get to, We take that first step, and that first step is getting Donald Trump out of office.
No, no.
And I don't think Bernie Sanders can do it.
No,
Why not?
It's too polarizing. Because it's too polarizing, and there's too many people who won't be able to go that far.
Now, a question I have is that there are a lot of white progressives that I know that, like, in 2016, we had almost the same situation, right? And the people who were supporting Bernie stayed home. And Bloomberg is far more extreme on the, like, we will take care of the billionaires. It is a class thing. I'm also racist. I'm also sexist. Like I voted for Hillary Clinton, easy, right? I would vote for any other candidate, easy. Bloomberg makes me think about staying home. And if it makes me think about staying home, then I think Bloomberg is actually voter suppression for a lot of black people and definitely white progressives would be like, nah, I'm good. Wait 4 years, burn it down.
So is Bernie Sanders. For white suburban women, you're talking about a structural revolution. They are not going to let go of their power for anyone. So they will take Trump, these white suburban women, yes they will, because they are not going to be about Medicare for all and increasing taxes and the rage that sometimes, I mean, I understand that passion that Bernie has and his supporters has, but it scares people. So you're talking about, so which one would you?
So are these the same women that didn't come out and vote for Hillary?
Exactly.
Right.
And so, but 4 years ago when Trump was elected.
But if they didn't vote for Hillary, who was a woman, who was very much like Bloomberg, why would they vote for Bloomberg? They voted for Trump.
No, they won't vote for Sanders. That's what I'm saying. These women will not vote for Sanders because they're asking them to give up their privilege. But they're not going to do that.
But they're not. They're more likely to either stay home or vote for Trump anyway.
60% of white people are going to vote for Trump. Majority of white women are still going to vote for Trump. That, like, 60% of white people, like late 50s, early 60s percent of white people consistently vote Republican. They always do. In the last election, they all voted for Trump, and he's going to get a higher percentage of white people because he's a white nationalist and it's used to them.
But that's not what we're talking about, right? We're talking about the white suburban women who helped usher in the new freshman class in Congress during the midterm.
I think they depends on these white women.
The candidate that's going to beat Trump. We have to unite behind them, and we have to make sure that we all came out because our levels, our participation, black participation levels were down too because Hillary, love her to death, was not the most inspiring candidate.
And not in Bloomberg. Like, stop. You're gonna be. I can't get excited about stopping frisk.
And especially
Black
about somebody
boys
who's coming into the election, basically usurping the political process just because he's rich.
He's not
He can come in and just, he's doing the same thing as Trump. He's doing what he wants to do because he's rich. That's the same kind of mindset that we trying to get rid of.
And he's still
Can
we get Jheryn?
I don't think that he is doing the same thing as Trump. I also don't believe that stop and frisk can ever continue because there's been a light shown on it. I'm not opposed to someone who has money using it for whatever benefit they see fit. I will say that people have to think for themselves. No matter how many commercials I see or don't see, or no matter, none of it matters. Like, you can tell me anything and show me anything, but I'm gonna do my own homework from multiple resources, and hopefully everybody does, so that they feel equipped. I don't think that, you mentioned that Bloomberg is as polarizing as Donald Trump because he's racist and sexist and all this. I don't think it's the same level. Perhaps we don't know enough yet. It's possible. I think Donald Trump blatantly breaks the law and believes that he is of God because he's now gotten past impeachment and nobody can stop him based on what we've just experienced. I don't believe the same with Michael Bloomberg.
Trump is a super villain. Okay, we get that.
Yeah.
He's a super villain.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make Bloomberg less of a villain. You understand? And I mean, why don't we want change? Vote for somebody that we actually know is going to implement some of the things that we really need to get done, as opposed to always settling for the lesser of two evils. We have been doing.
I think that we just need to be like, what happened in 2016 when you had a candidate who was less who is more likable than Bloomberg. Hillary Clinton is more likable than Bloomberg to a lot of people. Right? No, I mean, like,
okay, no,
right.
I think it's debatable.
But the people, but just the progressives, the people who are on the left, the people who are going to be Elizabeth Warren supporters and Bernie Sanders supporters, they would look at Hillary like I'm a person who voted for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
I without reservation. I'm like, I've studied her policies, all this stuff. I voted for her without reservation. Bloomberg makes me think that Bloomberg could be the real supervillain because if you compare, what does it mean if you compare commercials? Trump is like, hey, the criminal justice system is bad. Here's this black woman, criminal justice system is bad. I'm freeing a lot of people to recognize that. Bloomberg is, look at all the crime these black people commit who killed this black woman's son. We need laws to lock more of them up. I mean, that's the gist of his commercial. That's the gist of his philosophy, right? He believes we are criminals. And when he's talking about gun control laws, he's talking about another means to lock us up. He's not talking about all the stuff that we do in North.
Thing. Like that's not, it's not true. And I think we just can't, we black. So we need to focus, $30,000 to $40,000. I'm from North. My mother never made more than $50,000. It's not a choice. Like going to public interest law is a great thing. I wish I could have done it, but it didn't make dollars and cents for me. I have to be more pragmatic. Black people, we can't, like, the revolution is great. I'm all about the revolution. In college, you should have saw me all about the revolution. But right now, we need to be about the practical. We have to think about the practical reality that we live in. So maybe somebody needs to be talking to Bloomberg and saying, listen, we'll support you, but Stacey, she wants to keep you in check. We just need to leverage the situation so that we get what we want. We don't have time for like rainbows and hopscotch and Medicare, and we have to get Trump out.
I think when we do the research and we really look into it, I think that we'll find that the more pragmatic choice is actually Sanders. And the reason being, I mean, they just came out with a study, New York Institute or something came out with a study that basically found that Bernie Sanders' health plan, will actually save more money.
Right.
And so I'm saying the research is there. People actually want to pay attention to it and look at it and really look at what's really more pragmatic. I think there's something else scaring them, and it's that word socialist, okay? Democratic socialist. And really, most of us like to look at it as just progressive, it's just a progressive move. It's just a way of meeting the needs of the people first, as opposed to meeting the needs of the corporate interest. And really, that's what it is. I mean,
and I think that there are other candidates too, right? Like I think that, like, yes, Bernie Sanders.
And I like Warren too,
right? But Warren is kind of like Bernie light, as in like we know she could beat Trump in debate because we know how she did.
Yes, she did very well.
Did him dirty, right? Like boom, right off the bat. But is there a way that it's not Bloomberg or Sanders? Can black people, should we coalesce around someone who could win? Because both of us brought up, like you brought up reasons why white progressives not going to vote for Sanders, right? A lot of black people are going to be like, nah, good, we're good. So many of those things are coming out on black Twitter.
White progressives are not going to vote.
I mean, white progressives not voting for Bloomberg, right? They're not going to vote for Bloomberg under no circumstance. And we know that, like, there are some people who are not going to vote for Sanders under any circumstance. So isn't it possibly to try to find, like, the consensus candidate, like, in terms of, like, I thought Elizabeth Warren is like Bernie-like. Like, she has her 2% tax. She says blatantly, I am a capitalist. She's a former Republican. She's from Oklahoma. Like, she speaks to all those mainstream middle-class values. At the same time is like there needs to be structural change, and I know how to do it.
Why do you think she has this point on? Because I'm like, I when I'm evaluating the options, and I'm like,
primaries, Iowa and New Hampshire, and she did not score high there. Now she still has a chance. So if things go better for her, I mean, people might start really looking at her seriously. But
I think Joe, to answer your question, I think Joe Biden is probably that candidate who's in the middle. who is not so polarizing that people will stay home. People don't know what, there's not one candidate that everybody's going to agree on.
Right.
But there is a candidate who could get us to rally around the fact that, okay, this person can be our choice, and we feel comfortable that there'll be an alternative. Essentially.
Status quo is comfortable. And
I agree.
I
agree. That's why he's not my top choice. But what I'll say is, it is urgent and critical, and Donald Trump has proven strength out there. And not that it was all fair, but if we don't have a candidate who's strong enough, and I don't think Biden's strong enough, I like him. If we gotta have somebody who's strong enough to beat him, and everything else sounds good, but that sounds good to me in 4 years.
Now the audience has some questions. More. So
I'm gonna go through the questions, so each one of you write down your notes. One question we're gonna scratch, but the question is, why would we support Bloomberg when there's so information about his support behind the stop and frisk, and that there are videos surfacing with him saying racist remarks and things of that sort? And
then that would be like a racist remark. But let's take one at a time.
It's only just two things.
Okay.
Yeah, just so you can go ahead. And prepare ourselves more that we're running our towns locally and independently, so we're not so dependent on the federal government. And from the stance of Bernie Sanders, perhaps he's just aiming high, because you remember when you negotiate, you don't actually put what you want out there, because you have to be able to take. So you're asking for this when you know you're willing to take this. That's it.
Okay, so the question for you, like the first question was, there's so much really hot stuff about Bloomberg out there going on the internet every single day, right? With actual words he's said that just are inflammatory and racist. Why is that? Well, but why do you think that won't have an effect, that people won't stay home?
I don't know if they will or won't. I hope they just come out and vote. I am not here to defend Michael Bloomberg at all. But I just hope people vote, because there's no perfect candidate, and there are some who are better than others as far as morality. But our company, this country, again, it's business, and it's a competition, so hopefully people. And I'll add to that because there's I'm not gonna say there's levels to this. I'm not defend, I'm not. What I am saying though is that Donald Trump happily defended blatant racists who carry torches.
Right.
And
they're good people.
Yeah, as in good people, and is okay with it. Like he had no qualms about defending them. He sexually assaulted multiple women. No qualms about it. He's never apologized at all for any of it. And now that he's beat this impeachment, please, he thinks he's God. And at least, again, I'm not a sympathizer with Michael Bloomberg, but at least he's called out that, okay, this is not the way this was supposed to go. And I get it, because when I believe something, I'm all about that. So while I'm doing it, I'm like, yeah, we need to do this, let's do this, it makes sense, go where the crime is, all that sounds good. And then there's the chance that you might have some unintended consequences. I can't say what he was thinking or what he wanted then. What I know is that he has called it out and walked it back, which is more than we can say for Donald Trump. So hopefully people, for that reason, don't stay home.
Yeah, I also say that, but I mean,
well, I want you to incorporate this in as well. Like, is there a possibility that the reason, like, my theory is Bloomberg is out money and does the same things and will increase incarceration in our communities, and we don't fight. Like, we know Trump's there, we gotta fight. Bloomberg, we think that the fight is less. No, it's not less. Or maybe.
Okay, I understand that, I understand your concern, but I wanted to say, like, Bloomberg, like, I'm not going to defend him either, his stop and frisk policy, but when you think about it, all those white people have an issue with black people that they have to apologize for, or they never thought about before, and now they come to see light, come to Jesus moment or whatever.
Like Buttigieg
has his with the police department.
Black people in his own town don't like him.
Yeah, they all have some issues, right? Like, and then they have to apologize for it and make amends and move forward. I don't think that Bloomberg is worse than Trump, because, like I said, I think Trump is emotionally unhinged. So you don't know what he doesn't know what he's going to do. Like
Crazy Trumps.
Crazy does Trump, because you can't contain that. You can't organize against that either, because now he's taking down the structural integrity of our democracy, right? The Senate no longer checks him. He fired most of the people who were whistleblowers. His chief of personnel has made had a meeting with all the cabinet heads, and he wants all never Trumpers gone. He's purging them out of the government, right? But we don't even talk about his policies. Stop and frisk is bad, yes, but he's also cutting food stamps and aid to the poor. Like, he is 10 times worse than Bloomberg. Because I think would ever be. I think we just have to as Black people, have to figure out what we want and how to get how to hold our nose, take the vote for whoever it is. It's not going to be perfect. Even if it's Warren, take that vote, but then hold them accountable. You know, and I think Obama told us that too. You got to hold these politicians accountable to make sure they do what they said that they were for you. I mean, that's what we have to do.
One thing Trump has really done is expose the fact that we don't really have a democracy. We are definitely, I guess, the semblance of a republic, but we really don't have much in the way of democracy. And he pushed everything to this degree to show that he can run the executive branch as he chooses. And, you know, that check and balance thing that we teach our kids about, you know, the 3 branches of government and everything, and how they're supposed to work as a check and balance, really doesn't, you know, we have a democracy or a republic if we can keep it.
Yeah.
And basically the limits of that. And I don't know if we have another 4 years, we won't have.
You're saying that, so both of you are saying that. Would you vote for Bloomberg?
Oh God, I want to vote for him. Come on, man. I mean, it's like,
Would you do it?
Be like voting for more of the same.
Would you do it?
And to some degree.
Would you do it?
I'm not going to commit to that. I'd have to vote for somebody, I guess. But, you know, I don't want to. No, the idea of that is
just troubling you. To or not.
I mean, prepared to fight, you know. Yeah, I mean, but other people might not recognize fight from day one, you know.
It's not a good situation. I wish we had a clear front runner that we can rally behind.
We do. Bernie Sanders.
So technically, no, he only got 24% of the vote in New Hampshire. He's tied in Iowa. So there's a segment that wants him, but there's also a progressive segment or moderate segment that's butting heads. We
are ending the segment. We're putting it down, but I just want to. Well, there's 2 questions I'm going to have for you. One is, and just real briefly, that Bernie Sanders got the nomination. Would you vote for him?
I vote Democrat. Like, I want Trump out. Like, I think no matter what, even if my theory of the case does not win, it doesn't matter. We just need to get out there and vote. It doesn't. What I want, actually, it just doesn't matter.
So the last question, and this is actually a question to both of you. I think you've been on our show before, right? Like quite a few times, yes. So we're gonna have the question for both of you, and that question is Miss Kenney. Well, so for you, Ikhlas, who is your favorite hip hop artist, individual or group?
Oh, wow.
It's a question we always ask to everybody on All Politics Are Local.
I'm not prepared. I went with a new person. Kendrick, hands down.
Oh, Kendrick Lamar?
Yeah, I love Kendrick.
All right, cool. Great poet. So Annette, who is yours?
Oh, I don't know. I like the Fugees. I like
Fugees.
Yeah. And there was another group. But see, I'm more gospel.
You're like, I don't listen to that hip hop. I listen to good Christian gospel all the time. But back when I was listening to hip hop, that was the Fugees. And I also want to thank Miss Jheryn Kenney because she had to leave on our previous appointment. And thank you for coming out. Her favorite hip hop group are the Roots. And the song is "You Got Me." So thank you so much for coming out. Thank you, Ikhlas, Rashid. Thank you, Annette, Alston, for the next segment of All Politics Are Local. Normally, this is where we go, hey, DJ, You got to listen to our DJ, because our DJ is the best DJ in the entire universe, and he is. He's DJ Rhino, and you're about to hear some from DJ Rhino, who is the best DJ in the entire universe. So we're going to end this segment, and we're going to come back with DJ Rhino. Do your thing.